Happy spring, folks, and welcome back to WWE Network and Chill, where every single Monday I, Graham G.S. Matthews, break down all the original content that I watch on the WWE Network. And today we're talking Season 1, Episode 2, the second only ever episode of Bring It to the Table, aired last Monday after Raw. And I thought, overall, I'll talk about my play-by-play, my exact thoughts on the entire special in a moment. But overall, I thought it was a significant improvement over the first one. The first one I was not a fan of. I didn't even do an episode of Network and Chill for the first episode of Bring It to the Table. I talked about it briefly on Wrestle Rant Radio. The excerpt may or may not be here on the channel. I don't recall, but it was a couple months ago. I was not a fan. I thought it was just really a platform for JBL and Paul Heyman to really bash the audience, calling us marks. If you hate it, don't watch. That old argument. It was really annoying. Just as very frustrating, I guess is the right word as a fan, to watch that. Thankfully, this episode was a lot better. 2/3 of the panel were the same. I like Peter Rosenberg. I thought he did a good job as the host, the first time and the second time. You have JBL being brought back, and he can be obnoxious, as he was a few times here, as I'll get into in a moment. But he was better here. He was better here. He was a bit more tolerable the second time around. And you also had Corey Graves filling in for Paul Heyman, so I thought that was a nice way to kind of switch it up a bit. The first topic they talk about, and I mean, basically, as I've said before, and as you probably already know by now, these Bring It to the Table specials are like around the horn version of WWE from ESPN. You got the three guys. You have Peter Rosenberg representing the fans, and then Corey Graves giving, as well as JBL, giving their analysis, their thoughts, their 2 cents on various topics that are being discussed by wrestling fans. And what I liked about this was that it was filmed right after Fastlane, maybe the week after Fastlane. It aired last week, so it aired 8 days after the pay-per-view, but I believe they filmed it the week after the show. So, like, it wasn't even 7 days old at the most, so I thought that was great. The first topic they talk about is Fastlane, thank God, because that was a big topic in the world of wrestling for a couple days coming out of that awful, awful, awful show. They talk about Charlotte's winning streak being ended by Bayley prematurely at the show, and Peter Rosenberg asks just that, was the streak ended prematurely, was it the right time, blah, blah, blah. Corey Graves talks about Charlotte's streak in storyline. So again, if this is really like a shooting-esque show, and they do quote-unquote some shooting a bit later on, at least for this topic, they talk about the streak in storyline. And then JBL compares it to Bayley being held down by the Authority and her being an underdog, to Daniel Bryan being held down by the Authority many years ago and being held down by the company, legitimately behind the scenes. And I just did not get that comparison at all. I thought that was not the best foot to start on, the best note to start on. That just didn't really make any sense to me, the comparison he made, and Corey talking about it in storyline made next to no sense. That was a bit strange. They transition from there to Roman and Strowman, and JBL says that Roman Reigns is doing his job and being booed. And that probably pissed me off more than anything else from this episode, because he's not doing his job. I mean, it's not really Roman's fault, to an extent maybe, in the fact that he's being booed as a babyface. But he's just that. He's a babyface. He should be getting cheered. Like AJ Styles, not to offer double standards here, AJ Styles is also not doing his job. He is being miscast as a heel. He's a great heel, but he's getting cheered pretty much every single week, and therefore he should be a babyface. So a lot like AJ being a heel and getting cheered, Roman should be a heel and getting booed, as opposed to being a babyface and getting booed. He's not doing his job. So again, JBL over 2 here, not making much sense. He says people want to pay to get him to see him get beat, which again makes no sense because that's your job as a heel, and he's supposed to be a babyface. People are supposed to pay to see him do the ass kicking, to see him beat other people's asses. So again, that argument made no sense to me. They talk about Goldberg winning the Universal Championship and the Attitude Era stars. Is WWE creating enough stars? And Peter Rosenberg asks, will the crowd turn on the match at WrestleMania between Goldberg and Brock Lesnar? Corey Graves completely dodges the question. JBL also brings up, so again, the early goings, I know I said this was a lot better episode. The early goings when they're talking about WrestleMania and Fastlane are not too good, just because a lot of the things they say just seem contrived and just corporate answers, I guess, for a lack of a better term. Excuse me. But, yeah, so JBL brings up the fact that, everyone was a star in the Attitude Era and blah, 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 and it's not the same. They didn't have to rely on, on part-timers in the Attitude Era. But again, it's just not the same. It's a completely different time period. And that was when they gave people creative freedom. They could be stars on their own. Fucking D'Lo Brown was a star back in 1999. It's not the same today. So again, not a very valid comparison. They talk about the road to WrestleMania. JBL says he loves AJ and Shane. Why am I not surprised? As a match. Corey Graves takes me by surprise and says that he is not a fan of the match for the exact same reasons that we are all not a fan of the match, for the most part. I know some people are looking forward to it, which is great. I'm looking forward to seeing the match they can produce. But Corey Graves says the same thing. He remembers Shane's for the moments, not the matches, and that I'm not sure if Shane could keep up with AJ. AJ deserves to be in a better spot at WrestleMania. And again, that's the exact same criticism that we all have of this match. So I thought Corey Graves made a great point there. And then JBL says, who can keep up with AJ? Well, half the roster, and not fucking Shane McMahon. I think they, again, in my opinion, they probably will produce a pretty good match, if not a great match. We're talking about AJ Styles here. But to say that no one can keep up with AJ, or at least Shane can't keep up with AJ, is a valid comparison. I do think it will be a better match, just because Shane and Taker fucking sucked last year. And it really, as Corey Graves said, it was really all about that one moment with him jumping off the cell, not the match itself. He has had some pretty good matches in his heyday, but again, he's 40, 50 years old now, so it's a bit different. They go from there. They do this segment called Dig It. Do people dig it or not? They talk about Strowman, Bret Hart, and the NWO. Their fashion senses being copied by the Kardashians. Who could possibly give a shit? They did the same thing last time with the whole Bella's YouTube channel. Who fucking cares? I mean, it's not against the Bella twins. I don't care if they have a YouTube channel or not. Why are they discussing that on this show? What a waste of a topic. Who fucking cares? I know they're doing it to be culturally relevant, but I just thought that was dumb. They do talk about something that is relevant. This wasn't as dumb. I thought this was funny. I'll talk about the 205 Live thing in a second. They do bring up the fact that Brazzers, even I'm mispronouncing it, Brazzers is doing the Montreal Screwjob is doing a porn version of the Montreal Screwjob. And Corey Graves says that he's excited for it and wants an advanced screening, so I thought that was pretty funny. They quickly move away from that. JBL doesn't say anything. The same guy who was caught on his computer during TakeOver San Antonio looking up a bodybuilder nude in his Google search bar, and it was some fucking ugly chick. That was a bit disturbing. Moving on, 205 Live, they talk about whether it's effective or not. Corey Graves says that there's too much talking and not enough wrestling, which I could not agree more. And JBL says they're missing the boat with the show. They're focusing way too much on the fucking corny, campy shit with Alicia Fox and the Gentleman's Duel, which I enjoyed, admittedly. I thought it was pretty good. But they are absolutely hitting it on the ball that what got these guys over in the first place in WCW, in the Cruiserweight Classic, was the wrestling. They didn't cut many promos. They didn't have many sports entertainment bullshit segments and all that other garbage. It was the wrestling. So I could not agree more with that criticism of 205 Live. They are missing the boat with the show. It's good, but it's not as good as it can be. We get some snippets of a Corey Graves, Kurt Angle interview, which I guess is not the full thing. They said the full thing will be available in a WWE 24 special with Kurt Angle, which is awesome. I cannot wait to find out more about that and watch that, hopefully when it's available. Maybe during WrestleMania week or the week after, I'm not sure. Hopefully soon. But yeah, they basically talk, I won't talk about the exact interview. I won't, recap the entire thing, but they talk about Kurt Angle discusses leaving WWE in 2006, getting the call for the Hall of Fame. He says it's more important than wrestling again, being back in the company, period. He talks about seeing Vince again for the first time. You get a brief clip of that when he embraces with Vince in a hug for the first time in 11 years, which is pretty incredible. Some awesome footage there. And he does say he will be involved with WWE for years to come. So I don't know if he signed a contract. He said that he did a couple months ago. So maybe something has changed when this was recorded in late February. I'm not really sure. But that is exciting though. So I can't wait to see Kurt Angle back, period. JBL talks about Kurt Angle. He rants on Mauro Ranallo and his Twitter use because I guess they show a poll. They said from an internet poll, and it's from the Wrestling Observer newsletter, which I was not aware of at the time, but because fucking JBL called it an internet poll, which it's not. The WWE.com polls on their website are internet polls. This is a prestigious poll from respected peers and shit like that from the Wrestling Observer newsletter. I think Mauro Ranallo was either number 1 or number 2 best ranked commentator in wrestling today and Corey Graves was like a close second, so he does not say anything about it because he's happy with his placement. JBL's near the bottom. That's Mr. Marceau texting me, so I apologize for that. Mr. Marceau, I'm calling you out. But anyway, I forgot to turn my ringer off. That's my fault. But yeah, they talk about his Twitter use. He rags on him. Which is pretty interesting, because JBL went on to later tweet Morrow on Twitter later on in the week, calling him out for not showing up on SmackDown. Obviously, this was recorded before that, and Mauro Ranallo has not tweeted since, which is concerning, so hopefully he's okay. He rants on his show, Legends with JBL, being canceled. So, sorry, JBL. I said it sucked too, so I enjoyed the show, but JBL's just annoying most of the time. But I thought his show was pretty good, so I am kind of sad that the show got canceled. They talk about fans who were always taking pictures of them outside the ring. They bring up the Randy Orton incident from a couple months ago, which is true. I do agree with half of what they were saying, with the fact that, to walk up to someone when they're fucking eating, like, dinner or something, much less in the bathroom, is pretty scummy. So I do agree with that. But Corey Graves brings up this comparison. So again, I shit on JBL for his comparison earlier, the Bayley to Daniel Bryan comparison, which made no sense. This didn't really connect with me either. He brings up a McDonald's worker, and he says, when you're at McDonald's, you ask for your food, they make your food, and that's it. When you see them outside, you don't ask them, to make a Happy Meal for you. You're not expecting them to do their job, or you should not expect them to do their job outside of work. But you know what? It's not really a good comparison, because first of all, outside of work, no offense to anyone who works in McDonald's or who has worked in McDonald's, or really at any job, if you're not at work, the people who come up to you at work, more often than not, your customers, they don't give a shit about you. They're not going to come up to you and ask, I work in a movie theater. I don't, say, I don't walk outside of work and someone asks me for popcorn. That's not a valid comparison. And when you see a wrestler, more often than not, outside of the ring, in real life, in public, whatever, you're not going up to him and asking him to cut a promo. Maybe some idiot will. But 9 times out of 10, they're just asking for a 2-second picture. Now, I understand it's their public time. It's their private time, rather. They can do whatever the fuck they want. But a quick picture is not going to hurt anybody. And that person will remember that moment for the rest of their life. Now, if they're asking you to sign 10 or 15 different autographs, or autographed, like, trading cards and shit, yes, that's pretty scummy to sell it on fucking eBay and all that other shit. I'm not a fan of that. But I thought the comparison was kind of dumb, because you're not going to ask a McDonald's worker or someone like me who works in a movie theater or some kind of job like that, you're not going to ask them for a picture outside of work. That's not working. That's just asking for a simple picture. Anyone can ask me for a picture if they give a shit about me, but they don't. Corey Graves, if they want a picture with you outside the arena, it's not that big of a deal. Again, if they're asking you to cut a promo, yeah, that may be a little different. But other than that, I didn't really get that comparison, so I thought that was kind of a bit dumb. They talk about WrestleMania moments. I don't know if they said they're the best WrestleMania moments or their favorite WrestleMania moments. I think they meant favorite. But JBL brings up Hogan slamming Andre, obviously, from WrestleMania 3. Corey Graves brings up Shawn Michaels winning the WWE title WrestleMania 12. Great moment, so I agree with that. Rosenberg says his is Rockin' Hogan from WrestleMania 18. Another great moment. So they close it out by talking about talking smack and Mrs. Rant's, recent rants on John Cena. JBL says he's a big Miz fan, despite the fact that the fact that he kicked him out of the locker room years ago was accurate, but the fact that he was hazing him, I guess, was not accurate. That was storyline. I have a hard time believing that, but JBL does say that he is a fan of Miz. And Corey Graves says he's excited about the match, and I think a lot of people are too. The match itself is not going to be a 5-star classic, but the build has been pretty good. The build so far has been well surpassed my expectations, so I'm actually pretty excited for it too. And what might happen afterwards with Cena potentially, proposing to Nikki Bella. You never know. So they close it out by promoting the next Bring It to the Table special on March 30th, 8 p.m. from the Citrus Bowl, live from the Citrus Bowl, I believe. And the 30th is a Thursday, so they're doing it live on the network that night, which is pretty cool. I don't know if it's going to be these same 3 guys. I would assume so, but they might change it up again, because they switched out Heyman for Corey Graves, which I thought was good. I like Heyman a lot, but I thought he was just completely unbearable in that first show. So yeah, again, not an awesome episode, but I thought it was just a lot better than the first one. Again, not saying much, but I thought it was very much a huge improvement over the first atrocity that was the first episode. And I said it before. People were like, oh, why didn't you like it? I said, again, I like the concept, and this is what we should get more of. Just the execution the first time around was fucking awful. Some of the topics were also completely irrelevant. This episode had some of that too, with the Kim Kardashian bullshit. I could not fucking care less. But overall, I thought it was pretty good. So check it out on the network ahead of the next one. Next Thursday, 10 days from now. Holy shit, I cannot wait for WrestleMania. I will be there, and I cannot fucking wait. But yeah, that does it, guys. Next Monday, WrestleMania week. A lot of new content going up. A lot of WrestleMania-related content going up next week here on the channel. For WWE Network and Chill, I might talk about the 24 special of WrestleMania 30 or 31, or both. We'll see if I have enough time to watch and review them both before next Monday. And the second one might go up like later on in the week. Who knows? We'll see, but that is something to look forward to on the show for next week. But in the meantime, and in between time, guys, be sure to tweet me and follow me on the Twitter machine at WrestleRant. Find me on Facebook at facebook.com/graham.gsm.matthews. And be sure to like this video, drop a comment, subscribe to the channel, and also share the video too. All that stuff is greatly appreciated. So that being said, guys, have an awesome rest of your week. Enjoy the road to WrestleMania. And speaking of which, I will catch you guys down the road to WrestleMania.